We are very disappointed in the amount of funding the city received in the President's American Reinvestment and Recovery Act stimulus program. While we had submitted an impressive list of shovel-ready projects to Washington through all the proper channels, we still came out with much less than we had hoped for. Much of the $1.6 million we have received so far for transportation projects has already been spent on badly needed road repairs. We're going to be able to redo parts of Aladdin, Washington, Bancroft Avenues, and Spring Lake Drive. And we hope to get another $1.3 million, but that too will be quickly spent on repairs to Doolittle Drive, Estudillo and Fremont Avenues, Tea Garden Street, and another segment of Washington Avenue. Now, this may sound like a lot, but given that we have about 174 miles of streets in San Leandro, and these projects I've listed only cover a total of about 3 miles of reconstruction, we still have an awfully long way to go to bring our streets up to par. Even with that $2.9 million allotment, we are only receiving a third of what we had requested for roadway repairs. None of our other capital projects have been funded by the Arrow. We had definitely hoped for funding for a police officer or two, but were rejected in the initial round because, believe it or not, our crime rate is too low. We are still hopeful that we will receive some funding later this year. If we weren't getting a modest amount from a justice assistance grant, we would be down another school resource officer and another detective. And we are in hopes of receiving some community-oriented policing services money and may hear the news on that subject any day. In the 50s and 60s, the city was able to cut taxes over and over again. And as late as the 70s, the city council was able to brag about holding line on taxes and fees. We had an economic, industrial, and population boom in those decades that brought unprecedented growth and revenues to the city. That was fine for their time and great for property owners in San Leandro during those years, but those cuts created the challenges we have today. Those cuts dropped San Leandro's property tax rate to the 10th lowest in Alameda County. We only get 12 cents of every tax dollars you pay, while cities like Alameda, Hayward, and Berkeley get a much larger share. Despite the fact that we couldn't get any help from Washington with staffing our police department, Chief Willis and the fine men and women of the San Leandro Police Department have done an outstanding job this past year. Crime is down 12% from 2008. Robberies, assaults, burglaries, thefts, arsons, all down from previous years. The San Leandro Police Department made over 5,000 arrests in 2009 and responded to 69,661 calls for service. That is a staggering average of 190 calls per day. And I must share praise with our Alameda County Fire Department, Chief Gilbert, and all of our firefighters. They're doing just such an outstanding job, and we rely on them to keep us secure. They responded to 8,002 calls for service in San Leandro in 2009, with nearly 6,000 of those being medical calls. In fact, I want to commend all of our city employees, from the city manager all the way down to our part-time librarians and recreation workers. They are sticking with us through these difficult times. 2 of our 3 employee bargaining groups have agreed to forego a cost of living raise for 2 years in a row, and now they're accepting a 4.6% pay cut this year in the form of a furlough, and have agreed to a 2-tier pension system for new hires, all in an effort to do their part to get us through this fiscal crisis. This is going to give us more than $900,000 in savings. San Leandro is still clean, still safe, and a great place to live and do business. Thanks in great part to all of those men and women who come to work every day in our city departments. They work hard for those salaries and jobs that many of you would never want to take on. They deserve our support and admiration, and a big round of applause, please. One of the tools that makes our organization so efficient and responsive to this community is communication. And our most important communication tool, our website, is getting a complete redesign as of April 1. The new web design will allow staff to share information with the public faster at a reduced cost. It will provide more information than our old page through enhanced features. And it will be easier to navigate. All in all, a plus for the city and for our community. Even with the down economy, we have an amazing amount of building going on in San Leandro these days. As I go through these projects, remember that all of these were funded years ago when there was much more black ink in our checkbook. The Bay Trail Bridge should be dedicated this spring. I am still recommending it be named the Bill Lockyer Bay Trail Bridge due to his vision and passion to make the trail around the entire bay a reality. That is a $1.7 million project in partnership with ACTIA, ABAG, the Port of Oakland, East Bay Regional Park District, the State Trails Program, and other transportation funding sources. The bid for this project actually came in $1 million under the engineer's estimates. The I-580 sound wall should be finished soon. This is a $7 million project built by the Alameda County Congestion Management Agency. The neighborhoods along I-580 have been waiting for over 20 years to see these walls go up. We thank them for their patience, and I don't think it's a bad-looking sound wall either. A new on-ramp was built for I-880 traffic getting in onto the freeway from Washington Manor. A $1.9 million project funded by ACTIA, grants, and developer fees. This should definitely help traffic congestion and safety around the Greenhouse Marketplace. We were able to get the Marina Channel and a portion of our harbor dredge this year, thanks to a surprise funding of $2 million for the Army Corps of Engineers. We have Congressman Stark to thank for that. Now all we have to do is figure out how to pay for moving the dredge spoil materials in a couple of years. Something you won't see, but should appreciate nonetheless, is a new cogeneration project at our wastewater treatment plant. A $3.2 million project paid for by the Wastewater Enterprise Fund. It will be taking the methane created at the plant and some biofuel from other sources, generate 330 kilowatt hours of power for our generators and treat the wastewater, saving us about $360,000 a year and eliminating more than 1 million pounds of CO2 emissions every year. You will, however, definitely see the construction underway when we begin rebuilding our downtown parking garage later this year. It is going to be an $11 million four-story project funded by our redevelopment agency. We had hoped to get an additional $2 million in the form of a stimulus program, Tiger Grant, which would have allowed us to add a 5th story to the building and solar power for the whole facility. But once again, we were turned down for a share of the stimulus program. The Creekside Office Plaza will be completely built out in just a matter of weeks. This 3rd building, which was a privately funded $10 million project, is the only Class A office building constructed in the East Bay this past year. We have it a good authority that it will be 80% occupied the day it opens.